What up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Jahmal here, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to create a GitLab repository and push in an existing project into Git. So let's hop into it. So I did a video before on how to create a GitLab repository and how you can push an existing project into GitLab. But what I did in that video was actually uploading the entire folder to the GitLab repository opposed to just pushing the files. So what was happening was it was just having this nested type of vibes, and it was not the best experience on how to use GitLab. So as an update to that previous video, this video is going to show you the proper way on how you can create a repository and actually uploading your files to it correctly. All right, so what we're going to learn in this video is I'm going to show you how to create a new Git repository. I'm also going to show you how to set up the HTTPS and SSH authentication and configuring your local project to interact with Git. All right, so let's hop into it. I've been working on my notes, so I like creating docs because when people ask for how to do certain processes, I can just refer to the docs and make it a quick, seamless interaction so everyone could get to the solution as quickly as possible. And since I've been asked these questions numerous times, I figured it's best to put these things in a document. So definitely check me out on my Patreon channel. I will have all these docs, support the channel. So what we're going to do now is start creating our Git project and a repository on the web. So what we need to do is sign in or create an account. So if you're new to GitLab, that's the first thing you want to do is just create an account. And let's hop over to GitLab. So here I'm on GitLab. I already authenticated myself. So this is my GitLab. I currently don't have any projects in here. If you don't have any projects as well, this is what your screen should look like. But if you do have some projects, you should be into your dashboard and it should have a button that says, create a new project. So on this dashboard, what we're going to do today is create a project. We also have create a group, explore public projects, learn more about GitLab. But this video is strictly about creating a project and a repository. So I'm going to click create a project, and we have a couple options to choose from. You can do a blank project, create a project from a template, import a project, or run a CI/CD for external repositories. But we're keeping it simple in this project. So what we're going to do is create a blank project. And once we are on this page, we just want to give our project a name. And this name is going to be, for me, my wallet app. You can give your project whatever name that you want, and the project slug would be automatically filled against your project name. All right. We also have our project deployment target. This is optional, so I'm not going to change this. This can stay as is, but if you are into deployments, you have a few options that you can choose from. Next, the visibility level, I'm going to keep that as private. So you must be able to get access into this. So that's what we want to do. This is definitely for teams. We don't want our projects that's out in the public unless that's your intent. You can definitely click public. I'm going to keep it as private. And I'm just going to uncheck the initialize repository with a README file. I don't want no README file in this project. I'm just going to keep it very simple and empty. So once you have that, what I'm going to do is click create project. Now, nice. Now we can see our project, my wallet app, was successfully created. We can see the name here as well as some command line instructions provided by Git on whatever you want to achieve with your repository. So the first thing you want to do is set up the Git Global Setup. So this already have it pre-filled for me. So it has my username, Jahmal Richard, and it has the user email, jamalrichardpro@gmail, so the email address that I use to log in. And we're not going to create a new repository. We're actually going to be pushing an existing folder into our GitLab repository. Okay, so let's start with our Git Global Setup. So the first thing you want to do in order to configure these guys is open up your terminal. I'm going to make this window a little smaller so I can just copy and paste. There we go. So what we're going to do is copy this line, click enter, copy the email line and do the same thing, enter. So now we have our git config with our username and email set up. Perfect. So next, again, we're going to be focusing on this area, which is pushing an existing folder. So the command wants us to cd into our existing folder. All right, so if you have an existing project, I'm going to look for my existing project. Here it is. It's called test project, but you can give it any name that you have. And inside my test project, I have one file, and it's a test.py file. So this is the only file that we want to upload in our Git repository. We do not want to actually upload the project, and that's where my issue was last time in my previous video. I was actually uploading this whole project opposed to just having this file uploaded only. All right, so now we're going to correct that wrong. So in order to do that, let's hop back into our command line notes. So let's cd into that. So open up your terminal. I'm going to type cd, and for me, I'm just going to drag this folder, put it in there, and now click enter. I'm inside my test project folder. That is exactly where we want to be. So now what we want to do is initialize that folder so we can create a branch called main. So let's copy that line. And then pay attention of the test project below. You're going to notice that once we execute this line, we're going to see a .git folder being created, and that should let us know that we're on the right track. So as you can see, we have our .git folder generated. So that's good. Okay. Next, what we want to do is add a Git remote origin. So pretty much this is going to communicate between our local folder and the GitLab repository that we just created. So what we're going to do is paste this. And very important, the HTTPS that we are seeing, this is the HTTPS connection authentication method that is being currently used. You can also use the SSH authentication method, but I'm going to show you that towards the end of the video. But for now, what we're going to do is just set up our HTTPS and click enter. Okay, so that's good. No errors, no issues. Everything should just create a new line indicating that everything is good so far. Okay, next line is git add dot. So git add dot, what that does is take a look into our project folder and add all the files. That's what the dot is telling us. Add all the files in our project folder so you can make it available in the Git repo. So click git.add. And if you want to confirm what files will be uploaded, you can type in the git status. So git status, we have not commit, no commits as yet, but these are the two files. We have a .dsto file and our test.py. This is auto-generated from Git, so don't worry about it, but we can see our test.py file will be included in that push. Okay, so what we're going to do is give it a commit message. This one said initial commit. I like giving it something that I can refer to, so I'm just going to say uploading my local project. Okay, something like that. So now we have two file changes. Everything is being prepared to be in stage pretty much. All we have to do now is push these files into our repository, and then this page should change. We will not be able to see this type of Git command lines again. It's going to look different. So let's copy this, paste that into there. So what we have is authentication fail. We need to enter our username and password. So what I needed to do was just enter this command right here, git config -- local credential.helper with 2 quotes. And what that did pretty much was set my username and password back to blank. And now what we can do is enter our username and password so we can authenticate with our remote. All right, so what I'm going to do is enter my username. And if you want to find your username, you just go into your GitLab project and you can see your username like right here. So that's my one. Let me head back to my app. Okay, so let me type it in. Okay, and now it's asking for the password, so enter your password, click enter, and now here we go. Our file should be uploading, and it did upload. So now we can confirm to see if our files did upload successfully by hitting the refresh button on GitLab. And now we can see we have our test.py and the DS2 file uploaded successfully. And that looks good. This was staged 7 minutes ago. So once I cleared my authentication issue, it was good to go. All right, so now that we uploaded our file successfully, what I'm going to do now is hop back to our notes. And what we're going to do is now take a look on how we can create this using the SSH approach. So we just learned about the HTTPS, and now we can set this up using SSH keys for our authentication. All right, so what I'm going to do now is to make sure that we are not using HTTPS anymore, I'm going to actually clear the credentials. So I'm just going to copy this command one more time. And what this is going to do is erase our credentials from our machine, our local machine, and allow me to enter my username and password again. So if I were to do git pull, I should be prompted again for my username and password. So there we go. It's asking for the username, which is exactly what we want. So now to validate our SSH approach, we are going to just get out of this and let's clear our screen. Back to the notes. And what we want to do is open up our terminal again, copy this SSH keygen command. Okay, so copy this, go in terminal. So I'm going to hop out of this test project and actually go to my root. So I'm just going to create a new terminal. Here we go. And what I'm going to do is paste that keygen generator, and I'm going to change that default email to my email. So jamalrichardpro@gmail.com. Okay, so that looks good. Click enter. So enter the file you want to save. So just hit enter. It's asking for a passphrase. Just hit enter again. Enter one more time. And here we go. So now we have our public key. This is saved in this location. So once you have that, that is good. Now let's head back to our notes. So we followed the prompts to generate our SSH key. That is good. Now to access this SSH key so we can paste it in our GitLab, what you're going to do is just copy this command or type this command out. And what this is going to do is pretty much expose our key. So this is the key that we need. I'm just going to copy from SSH all the way down to the end, the .com. Click copy. And what we're going to do is hop back over into our GitLab and click your profile icon. Click preferences. And within preferences, we want to scroll down to SSH keys. And what we want to do is to add new key. Okay, so that key that we just copied from our terminal, so this key, make sure you have that copied, and we want to paste it here. So this should automatically pre-fill our title. We want the authentication and sign in. You can choose an expiration date that you want. So it's always going to put 1 year in advance. It's good to have expiration dates. It's totally optional. If you don't want it to expire, simply click the X. It would not expire. All right, so just click add key once you're good with your expiration dates. And now we should have our SSH key, which is perfect. Everything should be set up how we want it now. So let's go back into our notes. So now I want to actually talk about linking and unlinking. So before we was actually connected to the HTTPS connection, but now what I want to do is switch from HTTPS into the SSH. So in order to make that switch, we have to switch our remote and set a new URL origin. Okay, so this is the command that we want to use to set up the origin. That's going to change it from the HTTPS URL into the SSH command. So if you're wondering how we get this Git path for our SSH, all you have to do is go to our Git repository. So let me head back into my profile. Let me go into my personal projects, and inside of our project we have this code button. So if you click the code button, you can see clone with SSH and clone with HTTPS. So all you have to do is copy this path and then simply add it in this place right here. Okay, I'm just going to copy this command. I'm going to head into my terminal. So let's minimize this one, open up the one that it's our project. Perfect. So we did wipe our credentials for the HTTPS. So whenever we want to do a git pull, it's going to ask us for that. And now what we want to do is set our URL from HTTPS into SSH. Okay, so this is what that command is going to do. No issues occur, so this is exactly what we want. We can now try and log in with SSH keys to see if that is working. Okay, to validate to see if that is working, I can simply do a git pull. Before, there was an issue where we had to enter the username, but now if I do the git pull and everything goes well, it should let me know that everything is already up to date. Okay, so let me do git pull. This is good. So they say the fingerprint for this is not established as yet. Do you want to continue? Click yes. Yes. And there we go. And now it says already up to date. We have no issues with authentication. And again, we completely wiped out the HTTPS credentials. So this is running purely off of the SSH keys. All right, so now that we have our SSH keys connected, we can try pushing a new file or actually pull in some data that we changed from GitLab and see how that behaves. All right, for this one, let's head back into our repo. Go to personal projects, my wallet. All right, so right now we have only our test py. So if I go back into my notes, so I have some sample files here. So our test py is just pretty much this sample Python script to, go to a website and validate the title. And then we have a new file that I'm going to upload to our repo. All right, so what I want to do is copy this py.env file. So just copy this. I'm going to add it to my test project folder. Okay, so now that we have that in there, what I'm going to do is, again, we can go into our terminal. Okay, let's try doing a git pull. Already up to date. So now that we have a new file that is in our test project, we want to make sure that we can include that into our repository. So again, we're just going to repeat some of the steps that we did before, such as git add dot, git status. So now we have a new file and a modified file. That's good. And then we want to go back into our git commit message. So git commit, add a message. The message is adding a py.env file. So you can name it anything that you want, but this is what we're going to be doing. And then what we want to do is that git push command. So git push origin main. All right, there we go. So that should be pushed successfully. And if I go into my GitLab, do another refresh, and there we go. Our py.env file has been added. And one more thing before we go, I'm just going to show you how, if we make a change into our Git repository, how we can bring those files back into our local machine. So I'm just going to open up VS Code so I can show you this more visually. Go into my test project. So I have our two files, our py.env, and then we have our test py. So what I'm going to do is just change the variables from the Google to something else. So I'm going to make an edit on the Git website. So let's go to test py. Let's do edit in a web IDE. So this is just going to be simulating if you're working with people and they make some changes, how you should always pull in that repo so you make sure that your local branch is always up to date. So let's see, they want to change it from Google to Bing. Let's do Bing. Okay, and that person now wants to go to source. We have this file, one change, and say updating URL from Google to Bing. URL and title. Okay, updating URL and title from Google to Bing. You do commit to main. You are committing changes to the default branch. Do you want to continue? Say yes, continue. So now if we leave this and refresh our project, we should see that that change should be in effect. Okay, updating URL and title from Google to Bing. And now let's say you're back on your local machine and you're not aware of those changes. It's always good to go to your terminal, do git pull. And now we can see that this changed from Google into Bing. And now we can see that a couple changes happened to our test. All right, and there you have it. This is how you can create your Git repository, push an existing project into that Git repository, pull and push new changes and files into that repository. But if you enjoy watching this video, definitely join the Patreon, support the channel. On the Patreon, you're going to get access to the code repository, some in-depth tutorials and guides, collaboration and troubleshooting of your questions, some of my favorite test tools, plugins, and extensions, and so much more. So definitely join the Patreon. I appreciate everyone for dropping their comments. Thank you for the feedback. Without the feedback, I wouldn't have been able to correct that issue. So I'm hoping that this one delivers on that expectation. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in another video.